welcome to CVXX. Welcome back. We are still in the year of our Lord, 1989. And Lord Jesus Christ. Talking about Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Ryan.
Hello.
It's 1989, part 2.
It's still 1989.
And I have been struck with an existential fear of leaving 1989.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do a bit.
We've been having conversations.
I'm already looking back at 1984. I think we only did one part.
Yeah.
Like, God, what were we thinking? What was the rush?
It was a mistake.
What's the rush? Was it Prince that said, what's the rush for the gush?
It was. He wrote that for his wife, Maite, at the time, a Maite song, which says, what's the rush for the gush? It's much nicer when it's smooth, I think she says. More better when it's wetter, she sings. Anyway, that's a time slip. Get the fucking word up on the screen. That was a time slip. Ryan, I don't want to leave 1989. I don't want to leave the 1980s. I think that's what it is. I think I've got an existential fear of leaving the 1980s because it brings us closer
I'm with you.
To the dystopian now.
I had no idea how effective this guffed experiment was going to be.
I mean, it's fantastic because the world...
I want to stay in the 80s.
The more we are looking into the past and all these beautiful times, the worse modern life is getting. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it must be nostalgia, but I'm watching these 80s programs and I'm going, this is better than what there is now. This is better stuff.
Yeah, well,
telly's better. We
can get into this later. Because we've got a lot of stuff to cover today and a lot of video games, a lot of great stuff. I really don't know where to start. Well, we start with a video game this time.
You're going to pick something already? I was going to talk about things that were happening, like in September 1989. It's the 100th anniversary of Nintendo, the company Nintendo who make video games.
They've been kicking the ball for a long time, the old Nintendo, haven't they? Let's raise a glass of the finest Java to all the boys and all the girls at Nintendo. We love you. Who loves you, baby? As Kojak would say.
Mm-hmm.
What else happened? Is that it? Nintendo's birthday?
Yeah.
So nothing else happened in 1989.
No, wait. No,
Ryan,
you've asked now.
I'm asking you a question while you're looking through your data and your filofax there. Who was the sexiest man alive in 1989? Voted for by the readers of People magazine.
1989?
The sexiest man alive, 1989. Have a guess.
Oh, God. Dennis Taylor?
It was not the Irish snooker player Dennis Taylor. It was an older man than Dennis Taylor.
Michael Caine.
It was Sean Connery. Was the sexiest man alive in 1989.
Beater himself.
He was almost put up the footage. Let's remember Sean Connery as he should be remembered. Let's stick up a bit of footage I'm talking about.
Relationships.
Being mean to women.
Not the worst thing to slap a woman now and then. As I remember, you said you don't do it with a clenched fist. It's better to do it with an open hand. Mm. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I didn't love that.
I haven't changed my opinion.
October the 10th, World Wrestling Federation holds its first UK event in London.
I'm just going to jump to
at that, were you?
I wasn't at that, no, because... No, I wasn't at that. I was at Michael Jackson the year before, though. Which I spoke about in a previous show. If you've not seen that, please go back and have a look. I'm just checking my data slate here because I do, Ryan, if you're interested, have the results of the matches for that wrestling event, WWF. The first WWF wrestling event in the UK. Yeah, yes?
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Coco Beware defeated Boris Zhukov. Dino Bravo defeated Bret Hart. Dino Bravo, of course, famously shot dead by gangsters.
He's a big lad, Dino Bravo.
King Duggan defeated the Honky Tonk Man. Hacksaw Jim Duggan was the king of the ring at that point, or I think it was king of the ring. He was a king anyway. He wasn't the king of the United Kingdom, that was the Queen at the time. The Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels, defeated the Fabulous Rougeaus, the Jacques Rougeau and Raymond Rougeau, the Rougeau brothers. The Brooklyn Brawler defeated Paul Roma, star-studded event. And in the main event, however, Hulk Hogan with Miss Elizabeth defeated Randy Savage with Sensational Sherry to retain the WWF Championship. And listen, at that point, Macho Man Randy Savage and Sensational Sherry were one of the best acts in the world. Anything else happened in 1989 before I move on to some wonderful content?
On the 8th of December attracts a new record audience of nearly 27 million viewers watching Corey. somebody's run over by a Blackpool tram in the episodes.
Oh yeah, I remember that guy getting run over by a Blackpool tram. I've been in Blackpool, and it would be really difficult to get run over by one of the trams, I think.
They don't pelt it, do they? They don't. I mean, they seem to give you plenty of warning. So
I'm going to have to analyse that footage later to see how they executed that running over.
27 million witnesses to the accident anyway. So
yeah. Interesting. A lot of people think about it. A lot of people, if it's 27 million people that watched that accident, a fair proportion of them will have been people who have murdered people in cold blood. You think
probably
about that?
Dirty Den probably watched.
He would have watched it because it was a rival show, and as we know, he shot a taxi driver. Shot and killed a taxi driver. This was the 80s though. It was a different time. You were allowed to be on telly after murdering a taxi driver in the 1980s. It was a different time. Nowadays, I can't even have a wank in a taxi.
Have you heard anything, Rab, about the Guft Industries sponsored CVXX seance that's happening in 2025?
I have heard a lot about it. I've heard that Guft are in contact with a designer who is designing us a custom Ouija board for the experience. And I think we're going to try.
It's no Satan, is it?
No, it's no Satan. But I think we're going to try and get a real psychic involved as well. There has been a lot of reports recently about.
Hold on. A real psychic?
A real psychic, right? There's been a lot of reports recently, by the way, about how psionic assets have been used to summon UAPs containing NHIs into the environment. So there may be a connection there. I know you're on tenterhooks. I would just wait and see, because we're going to be contacting some of your favourite celebrities.
Is there no tenterhooks? Because you said tenterhooks, like it was a camping supplies or something as well.
I'm a writer. I think you'll find it's tenterhooks.
Tenterhooks.
I think I'm a writer. I'm a writer by trade. That's my trade. And yes, you couldn't be a writer if you'd murdered a taxi driver. They wouldn't let you write anything these days. Right, Ryan, I want to kick things off. We've spoken briefly about Shadow of the Beast in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you know, Ryan, about the PC Engine version of Shadow of the Beast?
Absolutely nothing.
That came on a CD that you can slide into your machine, or at that time you would pop it into your machine, and you could play a version of Shadow of the Beast, Ryan, that you've never seen, and is known for having a more reasonable difficulty level than the completely fucked Amiga version.
Just cheat.
No.
Well, cheat.
Winners don't cheat or use drugs or kill taxi drivers. Let's look at Shadow of the Beast. Now, Shadow of the Beast was released in 1989 on the Commodore Amiga. This PC Engine port is actually from a few years later. But I thought it would be interesting to show you this, because this predominantly UK-based audience that enjoys CVXX from Guft has probably seen Shadow of the Beast on the Amiga to death. So I thought it might be interesting to look at how this 1989 game conquered the world, through into the 90s, lingered on, changed language, and travelled. I'm going to translate. A baby was kidnapped on a pitch black night. The baby was taken to the necropolis at the ends of the earth and given over to the evil powers of the beast. As time passed, he grew strong. Then a terrible change took over his body. Here's your backstory. Take a lesson for that, video game makers. That's all the fucking backstory we need. Alright. And here we are. It's the Beast we know and love. Shadow of the Beast. And the first thing you'll notice is probably reduced parallax scrolling. Scrolling does not have the grunt that the Amiga had, but still, I'm a big fan of this version of the game. I kind of feel like I will be a fan of any version of Shadow of the Beast, just simply because of what this game represents. When Shadow of the Beast arrived in 1989, it blew people's minds, you know? I don't actually think it's a very good game, though. It's a secret that I think all Amiga owners hold deep within their heart, which is that we might love the graphics, the presentation, the music, the vibe of Shadow of the Beast, but secretly we know deep down in our gut that it's actually shite. The good thing about this PC Engine version of the game is that it actually has a difficulty level that is not completely hostile to the player. I think I might be actually able to finish this version of the game without cheating in any way. You know, I think it's possible. I think the years that passed since 1989 allowed for a wee bit of reason to come into it, for a wee bit of, okay, let's let players actually fucking play the game. You know what I mean? Still doesn't make it a great game though, but still, there's just something about even the enemy design that sets Shadow of the Beast apart for everything else that's out there. And I think it's a shame, despite the fact there has been efforts over the years to make new versions of this game, the remakes, redesigns, they've just never been able to capture that same weird alien vibe that this game had when we first saw it back in the year 1989. It was special. It was a suggestion of where games could go and what games could be. It's just a bit shite, wasn't it? It was shite. It was never really any fucking good, was it? Here you go, right?
It's difficult to express to the young'uns what it was like having that game in your house. It reminds me of my cousin's house. Like, he was the first to have an Amiga before me, but it's difficult to explain what it was like to see Shadow of the Beast running on a telly in a house, because it was so many levels above the type of capability that you saw for games.
Yeah.
Home games.
The leap felt astonishing.
Aye.
And you worry that these days, right, when's the next time you're going to see that leap? I feel it when I'm using my VR helmet, but this is all time slippy part. We can't talk about VR, Jesus Christ. You imagine being in 1989 trying to tell fucking Sue Pollard about a VR helmet. She'd be like, oh, look at VR. I can't do her voice. Look at VR helmet. Or something like that, and she would come on the chat shows. Oh, I tried to hold my VR helmet. Fucking, they were all dead annoying back in the days. Remember?
I thought I knew who Sue Pollard was, but no, I'm not sure.
Do you remember Freddie Starr used to come on his shows and he'd just kind of fall off chairs and all that? And,
aye.
Aye. I mean, it's hilarious, right? It's brilliant. Freddie Starr was brilliant, right? We can say that now that he was...
He's been cleared
of that stuff, right?
Right.
So we can say that now. He was brilliant. Talk backwards, not really. Do the backwards.
That's not talking backwards.
Well, you don't know what I was saying. That was my backwards Sue Pollard impersonation. Right, Ryan, what have you got? Have you got a game for us, or you want to date that way? Or?
Sure. I've done the usual again. I've got a list of games that I can't choose for, but do you want to pick one, or?
I always get to pick. All right, why not? Okay. Fuck it, go.
DuckTales, Prince of Persia, Silkworm. I've got millions written down.
I think Silkworm.
Picked it. Silkworm. Nice. I think that's a helmet. I think that helicopter men wear. Silkworm started its life as an arcade game. You're watching the attract mode here. You can see that there's two players playing. You can play as a helicopter or the Jeep. My footage will obviously just be the helicopter, because I don't have any. There he is. There. Johnny Napals. I have a very vivid memory, this will be of no interest to you, of owning Silkworm, an official copy of Silkworm. I got it as a birthday present, so it came in its own box. It was just like a kind of large cassette-sized box. Don't have it anymore, but the memory is very vivid. The disc was yellow, No, it wasn't. It was orange, and it had a sticker on it from the shop that had burned the disc, which I always thought was a wee bit suspect, because I thought somebody's paid full price for this game for me, but I don't have a blue disc with like the name of the game like printed onto the disc. It's an orange disc with a sticker on it for the shop who burned the disc. It all seemed a wee bit suspect. Silkworm itself, as it was back in the day, a joy to play. I remember having loads and loads and loads of fun with this, and been particularly impressed with the sound design in it. I always loved the music and the sound design. Replaying it now, I'm delighted with a few things. I'm delighted by the speed of the play. I'm still delighted by the sound design. It's great, it's quite unique. But what I'm more delighted by is the fact that it's one of the rare occasions where I put on an old game, an old Amiga game, or any old game, and I'm still good at it. I still remember how to be good at it. Somehow my old bones remember. Check out this weaving. Check this out. Whoa, hey, ho, ho, ho. Doesn't even seem like me, does it? You're watching this and you're going, oh, that's it. That's it. Consolvania CVXX is finished. It's finished. Ryan is fucking stealing footage and passing it off. It's fucking me. It's actually fucking me playing it. I did used to be good at some things. I'm still good at this thing. The bosses are a wee bit of a letdown when it comes to Silkworm. It's usually just a tank, or it is always a tank or a helicopter that you fight at an end of a level. That's quite stylish into black and white. That's cool. It's just, it stands out as being quite unusual, the game, because it plays really well. I don't want to piss off Amiga nerds, but there is an awful lot of subpar dross when it comes to gameplay on the Amiga. There's a lot of ropey content. So seeing something that has the complexity that this game does, and there's never any slowdown that I've experienced. I checked online, people say the game's quite hard, but I don't know, I remembered the patterns and stuff. I mean, I died lots, but it's fast, it looks good, it sounds really good. Definitely better in 2-player, but it's a very, very pleasant surprise. It's very pleasant to go back for a change and play an Amiga game that really stands up. A lot of people also say that this is the best version of Silkworm, maybe even better than the arcade, and I've seen a lot of the comparison videos and screenshots, and this Amiga version definitely does. Was that thing like, that sounded like that thing was in pain there. I don't mind destroying military hardware, I don't want to cause, I'm assuming this is all androids, I'm not killing real people, but that sounds like it's in pain. God, I fucking love this game even more than I thought of it. This is actually the end of the game. I probably shouldn't have shown you this, but you'll be fine. You'll survive, won't you? You'll survive. Tecmo made the game. It's pretty much like a spiritual prequel to Swiv, which was a top-down shooter where you were a helicopter and a jeep. It's tough, this thing, isn't it? It's really tough. Shouldn't be showing you it, but you'll be alright, won't you? You'll be fine. You'll be alright. There's a lot of explosions coming up, so try not to have an epi fit. Are you alright? Are you alright? It's not done yet. Where do you keep your recovery meds, just in case you do have an epi fit? Who's your next of kin, just in case I need to phone? So I know it's going to be your ma, but what's your ma's details and stuff? I already know your ma's details, don't I? Luckily, everyone saw the funny side.
Hey, beautiful. Well, we move on to one of our bits of content now, Ryan, because there's a lot to talk about. I've got a lot of notes. I've not got
many notes.
I've got a lot of notes. Do you want to go TV first? Do you want to go movies?
Let's go TV.
Which TV do you want to go for?
That's me picking.
You have a wee pick. Thanks to Guft, by the way, for the heating in here today. It's a beautiful temperature in here today.
Beautiful temperature. Let's go to the USA.
We're going to the United States of America.
Pack your bags. We're going to the United States of America.
If this was an Indiana Jones movie, you'd see us going, there'd be a red line just coming like across my face and all like that, and then into America. Wherever that is. Have you been to America, Ryan, in your life?
I've been really any interest. Oh no, that's not true. No, I've not actually technically been to America because I've been to Niagara Falls, so you can see America across the water. like just across the falls.
Because Niagara Falls as well.
Canada. Well, Canada and America.
This is fucking confusing, isn't it? Have you been to America or no, Ryan? For fuck's sake.
No, I've not been to America.
Right, okay.
I've seen
Thank
it
you.
from a distance.
Did you go down Niagara Falls in a barrel? Did they let you do that? Go off it in a barrel?
They don't let you do that anymore, no.
Okay. Okay, well, this is a very significant moment, I think, in the history of television, because in 1989, in the United States of America, a TV show began, a reality TV show called Cops.
Bad boys, what you want, what you want, what you gonna do? When you shut the door, get on the ground, police, tell me what you wanna do, what you gonna do? Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
And Cops, there was kind of nothing like it when Cops launched. Cops is a reality show that follows the men and women of the American police department as they go about their daily business of being cops in the world. Nowadays, they would call it copaganda, is what they'd call it.
Would they?
Aye, that's the pattern nowadays. They call it copaganda nowadays. But it's following the cops as they try and clean the scum off the streets. It always starts with the graphic nature of this programme. Viewer discretion is advised, it says at the start, and they're no fucking joking, are they? The theme tune.
I wish, I've spoiled for last month, I wish we had Jerry here to do a William Shatner version of the Cops theme tune.
Bad boys, bad boys.
What are you going to do?
What? Here's a question, right? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Ryan, what would you do if the bad boys came for you?
I don't know how embarrassing this question is, but I've got a question that I need answered before I can answer that. Your question. See the lyrics, bad boys, what are you going to do when they come for you?
Mm-hmm.
Who are the bad boys? Are the bad boys the cops? Because I'm watching Cops. Or are the bad boys, I don't know.
Well, I would say the people who are
phone scammers.
Who are dealing crack are the bad boys. Right. I would say that's a bad boy.
So they're coming for me. Why are they coming for me?
No. The lyric is saying to the bad boys, what are you going to do?
See.
What are you going to do when they come for you?
I thought the song was describing a situation.
Yeah.
The bad boys are coming for you. What are you going to do?
Bad boys, what you gonna do? No, it's bad boys. Hey, bad boys, listen, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when they come for you, the police?
So the song's not even really for me.
No.
So what was your question? What would I do?
What would you do if the bad boys came?
I'd phone the police.
What
would you do?
Well, I think like most of my viewers, I'd tell my mum. All-time great credits, by the way.
She's just going to phone the police, though.
These opening credits. You noticed there was kind of bikini shots and everything in it.
And it lasted ages.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This is a weird show. This is unusual. It's no rested, and it's like they're doing something new, but it isn't quite arrived at what it's going to be yet, if you know what I mean.
I would just like to say, you said weird show there. Everything we look at in this episode is weird.
True.
This is a weird episode. Everything we look at is really weird. I mean, so Sheriff Nick Navarro, right? It's his police department. I believe it was the...
Is he the one that has the staged phone conversation? Like he rushes in, like he's just getting for work, and he has that staged phone conversation about the fire. Like
yeah.
He runs in and he rushes his wife.
Right, do you feel that was staged?
He was acting badly in that.
Yeah.
He was acting
Interesting.
Sharon, get off the phone, honey. I need the phone right now. There's a fire down at the port. I just got open the duty officer. Okay, please?
Because I was wondering about this. There is a performative element to all the cops you see on this. They're all very aware they're in front of a camera, but also...
It's no... See, this is the really fascinating thing about it, because that's normal. This is normal. We're sitting, we've got 3 cameras. When we leave, we'll have a phone that has a camera in it. We're constantly... Cameras are everywhere. But in 1989, these cops with the camera crew following them, it's an unusual event. So like they're kind of much more performative, and you can tell that they're actually even a wee bit nervous sometimes.
They are, but they're also, there is no argument though, and this is the thing I think it makes Cops quite special as a reality show, and was just kind of mind-blowing watching it now that we're used to the kind of reality show we get nowadays. These guys are in real situations. There's no staging of smashing into a crack den.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And I mean, it's in a very real sense a reality show, and obviously there's versions of themselves. There's a couple of guys that seem pretty unfiltered though as well. It's a very odd thing. Anyway, Sheriff Nick Navarro, one of the things that struck me was Sheriff Nick Navarro, who is the sheriff of this police department. He's like a kind of older guy, right? And you just said he had this conversation with his wife and that, but you do see him right at the start of the show with a gun out in a crack den with a guy down on the flare. Like he's up, you know. You wonder to yourself, how often is he out on busts like that? Was it just for the show, do you think, that he's went out in that bust?
I think so. Aye.
But still, it's like, this is a show where, you know, famously, a guy get killed, a member of the TV crew get killed and all that, filming Cops.
In 1989?
No, in 1989, later, during a robbery. But there's an air of danger, I think, across the whole thing, like an undeniable air of danger, I think, across the whole thing. Do you know?
I should have looked at later episodes because I'm sure that must heighten, but I definitely got it definitely has real situations, but I was surprised by, or I was I was a bit surprised by how subdued sometimes the situations were.
Well, how kind of calm the criminals were quite often.
Well, again, I think it's a camera.
The cameras are there, right? They would have been weirded out by the cameras being there. Sheriff Nick Navarro, by the way, just a wee bit of... Because listen, this is a special show, CVXX. We do proper research on this show. Sheriff Nick Navarro, later in his career, was known for... so there was a band called Two Live Crew, right? They released an album, As Nasty As They Wanna Be, and the governor of Florida wanted this album banned for indecency. It was run about that time, right? Indecent albums and all of that. And Sheriff Nick Navarro decided he was going to arrest all the record shop owners that were selling the record. He just went into business for himself and was just going around arresting guys that run record shops for selling an album, if you can believe that. So that's the kind of guy you're talking about with Nick Navarro, a bit of a hard line. And Two Live Crew later...
I thought they were all like that.
Two Live Crew later released a song that has the lyric "Fuck Navarro" repeated multiple times in it. So, did you notice I'm calling Sheriff Nick Navarro saying this is the crack altar here? No. When they were in the crack den? I was pouring all this because I was completely fascinated by it. You see a police funeral very early on in it, so they're establishing the fact that police get killed here.
Also, like, you hear it on the radio or something, somebody hears it on the radio, or they watch it on the news. Or it's the way they're trying to thread like narratives through it in a strange way.
Well, they have glimpses, like you said, of domestic life as well. They go home with the cops in this first episode of Cops, and that's something that gets phased out eventually. The producers eventually went, "No, we're going to phase out this kind of domestic stuff because it does feel hokey, doesn't it? The domestic stuff."
I did like 18 minutes in, one of the cops getting in an argument with his wife because the wife took the opportunity of there being a camera crew there to
dig him up.
To basically dig him up and go, this has been going on for years and there's no communication. Like she's got a stage to hold him to
But
task.
she's also wanting to know what happened at your work today.
Aye.
And he's sitting there on the couch and he's watching the telly and he's like, "Nothing, we just bust a couple of people and it's 75 grand money." It's like just a day for him. You know what I mean? But it'd be exciting, wouldn't it, if your partner did something like that? Jen asked me, what did you do for work a day ago? I got an email. You know what I mean?
I felt a bit sad.
Yeah. I got an email. I had a cry.
Did you like the Cops?
Did I like the Cops?
And I think I'm starting to suspect that I might just be a fucking liberal hippie because I couldn't stand these guys.
Did I like the Cops? Now, there's an interesting question because...
Was it close to the end? I think it was close to the end of the episode. There was the female cop on the beat.
Yeah.
Digging up this, like, I think she was some kind of addict.
Yeah.
And also, as soon as the female cop started talking to this woman, the woman immediately started going on about how much she disliked prostitutes.
Yeah.
And how much her family, are against prostitution and stuff like that. And it just made you go, oh, she's a prostitute.
It's kind of imagine how if you met Dirty Den, if you met Leslie Grantham back in the day, he would start banging on about how much he hates taxi driver murders. You know. But she's patronising, right?
She's patronising and like, but I saw this woman, I'm like, this is the liberal hippie part. I'm going like, well, she's no doing well. This woman's no doing well. This woman on the street isn't doing well here. But this cop is just like, get off the street. Literally get off my streets.
Get off my streets.
Get off my streets.
Calls her baby and all that. We need your ID, baby. No, that. Get off my streets.
I need a ride. I gotta go get my clothes. Get off my streets!
The cop's argument would be, this woman's going to get herself in a bad situation. She's going to end up a murder victim, or she's going to end up a, you know what I mean? That would be the cops. The cops' argument would be, we don't want Johns coming to this neighbourhood.
Where are they going? That's not.
I know. Listen, this is
just going.
Listen,
get off the streets.
What other show do you get this kind of conversation on? What other? But there is moments where, so there's this big guy called Dennis, I think his name is, who right at the start you see him chasing about 10 guys, breaking up all different crimes, pulling out, stopping searches on people. And he's like the Terminator, this guy, in this episode. He's like chasing everybody and he's fucking arresting people. And he says to a guy, he pulls out a white guy who's dealing drugs, and he says to him, see me, I'm the only white face around here.
Apart from the cops.
Yeah, apart from the cops, you don't belong here.
I'm just trying to get these white boys to stop from coming in here. All right. You see me? I'm the only white face in this area, besides other cops. You don't belong here, okay? It has nothing to do with white or black. It has to do with crimes against persons. People that come over here to buy drugs get involved in serious crimes.
So there's racial segregation in communities right up front as a fact of life, which you just wouldn't, I feel like you just wouldn't see on a TV show nowadays, that kind of talk, or police talking in that unfiltered way.
I didn't buy it, to be honest.
What do you mean you didn't buy it?
A lot of the part of it, I thought he was trying to scare the person that he was talking to when he was saying that, because he was going like, don't come into this neighbourhood because you're going to have your car stolen, you're going to get robbed and all that because it's a black neighbourhood. But I was like, I think he's just going to buy a wee bit of drugs and then he's going to drive home and it's probably going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean, probably they're using all means to, but there is a moment, right? There's a moment where they get this guy and they've got this guy, they've pulled out this guy, and this guy's girlfriend is kind of hovering around, right? And then the guy suddenly,
I think I'm looking at a lot of what the cops are doing and going, this is nonsense. Like, this is a waste of time on everybody's. Like, this is so ineffective what they're doing.
Well, what would you do, right?
I don't know.
What would you do?
Something more complex than what they're doing. Something a bit more informed and compassionate than what they're doing.
I mean, it's not a reality show you would watch. I mean, nice boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they chat to you? You wouldn't watch that, right? But when they have a guy pulled over and the guy bolts and makes a run for it, I thought that was a genuinely exciting bit. Mm-hmm. It took me by surprise. And his girlfriend...
He had a warrant, didn't he? That's why he bolted.
He had a warrant out for him. And it was genuinely quite shocking when he just suddenly sprinted away. And his girlfriend's like, what are you doing? She freaks out.
She just doesn't stop.
She's like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you running? Stop running. Don't know what she's thinking, whether she's thinking you're going to get shot or like whatever. Then, and the whole moment looks dangerous as fuck. He's chasing after the guy, the cop's chasing after the guy, and going to shoot you in the back if you don't stop running. They eventually get him, pull him out. And there's all that talk in it. You see guys in police stations and women saying to him, you do something stupid and you're going to die. There's threats of death constantly. Cocaine everywhere. It's
I don't think she even had a gun at her when she said that. You're going to die.
No. They do have drugs bust at one point. They go in and there's you hear them shouting, there's a baby in here. You know, that to kind of calm things down. This big guy comes out, won't get down the flare, and they're all on him and dragging him down to the flare and falling about. And then they're all laughing and pulling cocaine out of places. And it's weird, like the kind of drug squad guys, they feel like kind of 80s. They've got an 80s cop show vibe about them, didn't they? Would you like to be one of the guys? Did you ever have that thought? I would like to be one of these guys.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't want to be anywhere near the guys.
I like that there was a cop at one point interrogating one of the boys in the drug bust, and he was sweating like fuck. And he was saying, oh, what were you doing? Maybe you were just in here watching the Dick Van Dyke show, he was saying. I just thought that was a good kind of dated part. I think it was a beautifully shot show, by the way, for a reality show. You think how reality shows are shot nowadays, which is really basic.
But I mean, the equipment and stuff that they're logging about is like...
Yeah.
Basically filmed on your phone these days.
There's a cigarette shot at one point. They're doing getting kind of interesting shots and they're doing focus pulls and all that. You don't get a fucking focus pull in a reality show nowadays.
Because they don't know what reality is yet.
No.
What reality TV is yet. It's still like...
Yeah,
it's a bit of other things.
Like they wouldn't have called this a reality show, I don't think, back then. I think they would have called it like a documentary or something. They would have, I don't know if they would, if that genre had even, that's an interesting point, had that genre even arrived yet. And we're going to be obviously visiting the genre of reality show quite a lot as we move through CVXX probably. There's quite a shocking bit where they find a body in the water and the kind of, and it's just kind of there and blurred out.
But there was no foul play though, was there?
No foul play. The guy just took his clothes off and I don't know. And there was interesting facts, like the guy was like, we'll look at the clothes, and if the clothes are inside out, then that, you know, more times than not, that means somebody else is taking the clothes off.
I don't know if I agree with that either.
Well, I was thinking about it after that, and I was going, when I take my trousers off at night, they are on the inside out.
I'm in a ground floor flat and I often wear layers. I often wear like thermals and stuff like that. And if it's too many layers to take off, you just whip them off until they're inside it. So if the guy was wet or something, you would just whip them off the easiest way. I don't know.
Yeah, do you realise that you saying that has made you easier to murder now? Because you've said that you'll...
Bring it on.
I can strip you.
Bring it on.
No problem. The guy says, I'm surprised he's not all chewed up, the body being in the water with the fish and all that. And the other guy says, no, they won't touch it until it's rotten. Which was...
They go for the eyes, didn't they? That's what they said.
Aye, so Linda Canada is the lassie you were talking about. That's the name of the policewoman.
She's a street cop.
She's the policewoman who was pulling all the prostitute and stuff like that. And she's now in real estate. She works in real estate in Florida now. She's out of the police force and doing that.
It was another one, another thought I had watching it was, how long can you do that job for? You can't spend your life doing that job. Being up against...
I don't think you couldn't do it on that level. You would need to seek that promotion
to get away.
You would need to get out of there. You know what I mean? But you couldn't do that. It's too awful. You're seeing too much awful stuff. There's a woman who was doing kind of drug investigations at an airport. That was her vibe as well. A lot of stuff happening in this episode, and there was a brilliant...
there was just a good few examples. I mean, it has to be this way if you're doing that kind of job. We've got a pal who works for the police as well. It's just that there's a certain temperament that you have to keep, but there was plenty of examples in the episode of just these really authoritarian people, people who really seem to be relishing the you will keep your fucking voice, you will keep your voice down. That's what she was like in the airport. She was like...
But she was talking about how difficult it was to be that person, because she says she's not that person. She did say that. She says, I'm not naturally that person, so it's like I need to get myself in that place, and when I come home I need to come out of that role as well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You don't think people can just naturally...
I don't.
Because people become teachers and stuff like that, and they have to take authoritarian roles, don't they?
Not like that. I mean, maybe nowadays you
Here's a question as well. Here's something I was thinking about as well. So this kind of hardline vibe that you feel off all of them in the show, right? Do you think that forms in time? Do you think maybe you could join, feeling like you need to be compassionate?
No, but you couldn't do the job. I know I couldn't do the job. Like with that attitude, you just couldn't do it.
So if you went in,
but what a big reason why is because people would take advantage of you.
Yeah. You're saying you couldn't pursue bad boys or be a bad boy?
I don't think so. No, like for a prolonged period of time. I can maybe go a couple of weeks as a bad boy or be pursued as by the bad boys. Nervous about it, just by the prospect.
I think I could be pursued by bad boys all night, if I'm being honest.
Really?
So I really like, there was a wee moment where she pulls all this boy in the airport, young boy, right? Big muscly young boy. And he has a bag, and she goes, is that your bag? And he says, no, that's not my bag. And she says, right, okay, we'll have a look through it then. And he panics and he goes, do you not need a warrant for that? And she says, well, I don't need a warrant because it's not your bag. It's a nice wee gotcha. It's a beautiful moment.
But then he says it is his bag.
Yeah, and he says it is his bag. It's a nightmare. The guy's sweating, and I immediately felt bad for the guy, and then he resisted arrest as well, and she's shouting, don't resist, don't be stupid, and it takes about 6 people to get this boy done. And then it was really sad at the end when he was phoning his girlfriend and his mom and all that, and he was like totally fucked up. And I felt like the police...
He was saying to his man, his girlfriend, I'm basically not going to see you for quite a while.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
He knew he was going away for 15 years or something like that, and telling his girlfriend, don't wait for me. Right away in that first phone call, don't wait for me or anything stupid like that. Terrible. Guy was looking at a 40. One of the police had found a 40 of the girlfriend. Right, go away for that for 15 years. There we go, I've done the thing. Talking about a woman. I felt in that moment the police did seem quite compassionate about that boy. When they'd arrested him, they felt a wee bit like, you know, this is a kind of shame for this fucking stupid young boy.
Let him go. It's only drugs.
You can't let them fucking go.
Who cares?
You can't let them go, am I right?
Amsterdam.
Am I right? Well, did that work? Did Amsterdam work?
It was working till they shut it down. Did you like the show, Cops? Enjoy it?
I really liked it. I liked it to the extent that I said to my wife afterwards, I says, we need to watch Cops right for the start, or 35 seasons yet, because Cops starring James Woods. Cops is still running. Astonishingly. It's I think it's when it was running on Fox, it was the longest running show on Fox until The Simpsons overtook it. I think it moved off of Fox now, but it's still running. It's been running continuously since 1989. And I'm going to start watching it because I got a thrill out of this. I don't know whether it's I want to be a cop now or whether I want to be chased by cops and escape from a cop. Did you enjoy it?
No, really, no. I didn't like the people involved. I found it interesting having a look at how the show is put together.
I thought it was a beautifully structured bit of telly.
Aye. There's definitely a lot more in it than modern day.
It has an energy.
Show.
It has an energy that I feel like a lot of TV shows don't have nowadays. There's a polish now in TV shows, and this has a real kind of energy. And I also think that Cops it's 1989 Cops, right? But this is a fucking 1990s show. This is like the 1990s have arrived. Aye. It has a 1990s vibe to it. It has the kind of the threat and the menace that the 1990s had, and that kind of the desire that people had in the 1990s, I think, to engage with more outrageous content.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Cops. Burt Lancaster did the wee voiceover at the start. The actor Burt. Can you fucking believe that? Can you believe that?
Cops is about real people and real crime. It was filmed entirely on location with the men and women who work in law enforcement.
What video game have you got for us, Ryan? You want to take us back to the world of video games?
I'll just pick my aim this time.
Okay,
I'll be a big boy.
A treat for us. He's been a big boy, picking his own game.
I'm going to pick Gradius III.
You're picking Gradius 3? That was one of my choices as well.
Was it?
Aye, but that's all right. Pick it. Go for it.
Actually, maybe I shouldn't because I've already done Silkworm.
Oh, aye, right enough. You shouldn't. You should leave Gradius 3.
I'm going to do SimCity.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to have to put some music on this. I can't take the silence. I'm going to have to put this, the 1991 CD32 music, but I need to put some music on it because there's no music on the Amiga version of SimCity. SimCity, I can't believe I'm about to say the words out loud, but SimCity is a city building, city management game. R stands for residential. I can't figure out, I never played this back in the day, I can't figure out why my residential areas haven't got any power. Power station's up and running, ran the power lines to the residential areas. Should be as simple as that, but it doesn't work. As I say, didn't play it back in the day. Played games like it, played city management games like it, and played some city management games that I've liked a lot better than SimCity, TBH. But it's fine, it's good, it's fine. You can play scenarios, Detroit, there's too much crime, you've got 10 years to turn the crime around, it's fine. Just build police stations and knock down crack dens. That would be my suggestion. What to do in Detroit. Look at that sprawling shit heap. Flooding is happening in Rio de Janeiro 2047. Anyway, you've got scenarios to play. It's not just building a city from scratch. It's quite fun, quite basic, quite fun. Never having played it in the past, I don't really have any nostalgic leanings for the game, so I know that there's better games to play. No really a fair thing to say for a game that's been out for as many years as this game's been out, and I'm sure it's had its day. It's just that I'll just have to keep repeating that I never played it back in the day, so what I'm looking at just looks a bit basic. Don't mind to be rude, just looks a bit basic. Doesn't help that I don't have that much imagination here, Dale. I don't know what I'm doing. Go some houses, fire department. The CD32 soundtrack sounds a lot more exciting than what's happening here. Just me looping the roads. Just looped a road run. Is that a town? It's kinda like a town, innit? Am I playing the game right? I think so. I never played it back in the day. Did you? Am I playing this game right? This is the Hamburg scenario that's in SimCity. You're getting bombed. Things are on fire. You're getting. It's 1944. Hamburg. You're getting bombed. The Allies they're bombing you. Hard to keep a city going when the Allies are bombing you in 1944. Fucking forest's on fire now as well. That's the last thing I needed. Thing is though, you're Nazi scum, so you deserve to die. So I'll just let it burn. I'll just let it all burn. Just let it all burn.
SimCity, wow, huh? That's a. We live in a city.
That's true. That's true. That was a good connection. I thought you'd lost it there, but you
thought it dried up there.
You pulled it back.
But we live in a city, and I don't know, Ryan, what's going on with the people that are running this city at the minute, but Glasgow's in a fucking... I don't know who needs to hear this, but Glasgow's in a terrible state at the minute.
You talking about potholes or...?
No, I'm just talking about city centre.
Oh my God. It's rough out there. It's like... it's a wee bit like Robocop in Glasgow City Centre.
It's bad.
We need a Robocop in Glasgow City Centre. That's what we need.
We do.
Where's that guy that was in Rapsy Nesbitt 30 years ago?
Do you know that robot? It's called Robert.
Is it Robert the Robot?
It's called Robert the Robot. He used to dance in Argyle Street. I think he's maybe dead.
But he's a robot?
Well...
Bicentennial Man starring Robin Williams, he lived for centuries, did he know?
Yeah, but he did still eventually die, though. That's fucking
was his
ending of
choice.
Bicentennial Man.
That was his choice. He chose to die in the film.
The Bicentennial Man was absolutely roundly panned when it came out.
It's got Robin Williams in it. You can't...
That's a film and a half, by the way.
It's got Robin Williams in it.
Okay, so let's get into Gradius 3 then. Can I follow your SimCity? We'll just blast straight into Gradius 3.
Go for it.
Super Nintendo, Gradius 3, let's go! Now, if there are any games out there that I love and I'm good at, in my opinion, I'm not good at very many games, but I'm good at these games. It's games like Gradius, Salamander, Parodius. Big collector of these games, big fan of these games. But Gradius 3 is probably the game I've played the least of all of those. Gradius 3 on the Super Nintendo is a game I hadn't played for a very long time before I cranked up to play it again for this very show. In fact, I bought myself a Japanese physical copy of the Gradius 3 for Super Nintendo, for Super Famicom, sorry purists. And this is me playing it, first go. This is my first go now. I don't want you to get excited because it's not a good go, very rusty. But you can see that I've got enough innate, natural Gradius skills to make a decent fist of things and blast right through that high score. Now, Gradius 3 is a bit of a black sheep, I think, in the Gradius family because it has what many consider a major problem. It has significant slowdown. Now, as many shmup enthusiasts will tell you, slowdown is just one of those things you have to deal with in a lot of shoot 'em up games, you know. In fact, oftentimes it's a feature and not a bug. But here, look, you'll start to see it here, the slowdown. You can feel it. It's weird. It's one of the things you can feel more than you can see, but I'm hoping that you can kind of see it, particularly when these big sand dragon guys pop out. That death was really embarrassing. Apologies. Right, a bit later in the same turn, and you'll see the slowdown kicking in again there. These enemies, for some reason, always kick the slowdown in. But again, it's one of those things when you're used to playing shmup games, you kind of just have to learn it, just like you have to learn everything else. The danger is when slowdown kicks in and then the slowdown ends and you're back to full speed again, bad things can happen, you know? The danger is the slowdown ends and you fire away and you're flipped like this, like I fucking did there. Like exactly that. That's the problem. That's the problem. And that's the thing. That's the thing that gives Gradius 3 this negative reputation. There's a part later, I'll probably reach. There's a part later where there's all these bubbles on screen and it's just slow down hell, and then there's a fire level later on as well, which is just an absolute nightmare. But again, I think it's just something that you have to live with. I know that in present times, away from the year 1989, somebody has got a ROM hack that has got rid of the slowdown and all that, and that's great, but the slowdown kind of is what this game is. I think even the arcade version of Gradius III had significant slowdown. Speaking of slowdown, by the way, look at this. This is still the same turn, by the way, and this is me creeping up on my first go of Gradius III in years, blasting through that high score. I'm not saying that's an amazing high score, by the way. I'm just saying I was expecting to be a lot more rusty than I actually was. But you can see the slowdown here. And look, I think I love this game just like I love all the Gradius games. There's just something about these games that make them a kind of like pure shooter for me. It's like if somebody asked me for a shot, shoot 'em up, I would put a Gradius game on. I'd put on Gradius 1 on the PC Engine is what I'd put on. But Gradius 3 on the SNES, there you go, see the speed up there straight out of that. I mean, it's a nightmare, but it just gives it an extra level of challenge that you need to deal with. And if you're somebody like me who knows his way around a Vic Viper, mate, clamped. Yeah, anyway, I just can't get enough of these games. So 1989 had this gone for it as well. What an amazing year. Let me just put my name in. My name is Rab, and I am a gentleman. There we go. And I'm also a Leo, so if you want to get me any birthday presents, just remember I'm a summer boy. Okay, lots of love. Night night. Top of the rankings again. So, TV or film, Ryan?
Let's do the film.
You want to do the film?
Let's do the film.
I think we should do TV, and I'll tell you why.
Why do you ask?
I'll tell you why though. Because I was just wanting to hear what you said, right? But I think we should cover the TV show. Because I turned this off.
Smell the cheese. That's what popped into my head there. Remember smell the cheese for school?
I turned this off. And this is the first time...
Turned what off?
This show. And this is the first time since covering anything in CVXX. I think you stopped watching something before. Can't remember what it was, but you mentioned that you stopped watching it. I turned this off 5 minutes before the end.
You're talking about the TV show?
Yeah.
So you've not completed watching it?
No, I turned it off 5 minutes before the end. But we're going to go into why I turned it off. This
couldn't have been because you were enjoying it, really, could it?
This is a UK TV show of 1989. It had already been running for a few years by this point, right?
Couple of years. And the episode we've watched, I don't think is from the series that was out that year, but it's a best of.
Yeah.
Of the previous series.
And it's called Beadle's About.
Watch out, Beadle's about. Watch out, Beadle's about. You better watch out, 'cause Beadle's about.
Jeremy Beadle.
Watch out.
Beadle's about. Jeremy Beadle was a prankster.
Is that what he did in university?
I think he graduated in, he's got an MA in Prankston, and he went to Prankston University.
I see.
And
when you graduate, does one of your horns shrink?
Jeremy Beadle had a small hand on one side of his body because he suffered from something called Poland syndrome. Quite ableist what Ryan said there. Which means it's an underdeveloped one side of his body.
I thought it was just his hand.
Doesn't alter your life expectancy. No, I think it affects your pectoral muscle and stuff like that as well. That was why they called him One Tit Jeremy Beadle at school. He's in the gun, Jeremy Beadle, as we speak. And I just want to say something before we go on. Jeremy Beadle is known. He died, I think he was 59 when he died. He was very young when he died. His whole career was about making people laugh. It was about having funny laughs and japes. This man, before we go any further, raised an astonishing amount of money for charity. He was all about charitable acts. By all accounts, before we go any further, Jeremy Beadle was a good guy. So let's raise one up for Jeremy Beadle.
Set up for something terrible though.
Why?
I don't know. I've just got a bad feeling.
No, there's no catch. He's a guy from the 80s who was a goodie. The only thing you can say about him is he joined the Freemasons later on in his life. But even when he joined the Freemasons, he was still raising loads of money for charity. So who cares? We're all part of some secret society, ain't we? Right, Ryan, Beadle's about. Get into it.
Watch out.
The format of the show is Jeremy Beadle sits in a studio audience, that kind of 1980s studio audience that is just immediately depressing, right? And he sits there and then he goes, Jeremy Phillips came in and he had to do a job on a Saturday, but we got there first, set up our cameras, and then something happened. And then it shows you video footage of the prank involving actors, and it's a staged prank thing.
That's it.
That's the format of the show.
Remember how long it took you to describe Interceptor in the last episode?
I mean, I still don't think we described it very well, but aye.
That's the setup. It's pranks. They film some pranks, usually behind some some mirrors.
Secret cameras.
Secret cameras far away.
Yeah, you know it's secret cameras because at the end of pranks, Jeremy Beadle, and when I visualise Jeremy Beadle, I visualise him doing this to people, pointing at the camera. See, there's the camera there. There's one there. There's one there. There's one there. Exit. That's there. It's there. Ryan.
So, was the first prank, I'm right in saying that the first prank was double yellow lines? See, this isn't good. This isn't a good reaction.
So a woman...
I don't even feel that the studio stuff was that depressing, to be honest. The 80s studios remind me of Billy Connolly stand-up shows is what they remind me. They actually they make me feel a wee bit cosy. They're always well-carpeted, 80s studios. So I don't immediately feel a wee bit depressed.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I don't know if depressed is the right word. I don't know if... Listen, we'll talk about this later because this is all part of the whole... There's a
double
whole thing
yellow
here.
lines.
So the double yellow lines prank. So there's this woman. The prank is on this lady, this mum. And the mum's son has parked...
London mum.
Yeah, mum's son has parked his car outside the mum's house. And then the double yellow line maker man has come along and he's painted double yellow lines right along the road and then right over the top of this car, right? So this car has got double yellow lines right across it. And then she comes out and she goes, oh, there's double yellow lines all across this car. And then the two guys that are actors are like that.
Were they actors?
The two guys who are actors, Ryan, are like, well, the car shouldn't have been parked there. And then they perform a wee scene. And she says, well, you can't fucking leave it there. And they blank out the fucking with a whoops or something. What is it, whoops?
I think it's just symbols.
It's they put a over it. And she's like, you fucking this. And I'm like, oh, you silly cunt. You can't bam. Up. And the audience are all laughing. And then it cuts sometimes to her in the audience going, oh, what a fool I made of myself.
I did like it when the guy who painted the lines, I forget what he said, I'll have to recheck, but he said something and she went, don't get clever. I'll put my fist in your mouth.
Well, it looks rather nice. It's rather trendy.
No, don't get clever, love, or my fist will be straight in your mouth.
I like that.
It's really English, this show. Wait, calm down, hold on.
You can share that.
It's really, really English. And I don't quite know how to explain that.
It's in, these ones, I think they were mostly in England, though, now that I think about it. There is a Scottish person in one of the later sketches.
You will get to that as well.
Oh dear. That's no good. Known him for decades, that's no good.
It's very English. I don't know what I mean by that, but you've got these actors.
The only people that you need to explain that to, look, you're fine, you can say it's very English. The Scottish, the Irish and the Welsh know what you mean when you say that. So that's all that, you're fine.
You've got these actors, Ryan, and they're fucking... They're acting in that way, they're just rotten. They're just kind of like, oh, well, like they're in a...
It wouldn't... you wouldn't... Like, you couldn't do it now. Like, you couldn't do that now. I mean, you wouldn't do it now. Like, I'm sure people still do pranks and stuff like that, but you couldn't have that level of performance now. So...
No, you would see... Well, A, you would see right through it. B, we're in a world now where it's like people are just... There's pranks and cameras everywhere. You know, that thing about, is there cameras? There's always cameras. It's a product of a more innocent time. I just don't. Then Jeremy Beadle rocks up right towards the end. Jeremy Beadle rocks up and he's dressed as a traffic warden.
We were talking about cops having those like detail shots and being like well filmed. I noticed that when these are the things I notice in the shows the most are when Beadle turns up in his police uniform.
No, traffic warden
uniform.
Because he's coming to book the car for being on the double yellow lines, and she's saying, it's not on the double yellow lines, the double yellow lines are on the car. He's loving it. He fucking loves it.
I think it's a funny scenario. It's a daft scenario. The double yellow lines are on the car. The car's not on the double yellow lines. Anyway, when Beadle comes in dressed as a traffic warden, there are a couple of detail shots. There's like mid-detail shots from different angles where they're on the cameras, so they must have got these shots later to drop in, or beforehand to drop in. But they definitely didn't get them there because you've only mainly got the wide. You need to stay wide.
But they had 3 cameras because at the end when Jeremy Beadle pulls out his mic and she's like, oh, and she's like, oh, it's not on TV, it's not, and he goes like, there, it's like pointing, there, right, there. He's pointing. There's 3 cameras out there. Oh, waste of technology. I feel a wee bit like, just fucking see if you. Oh, I don't know, man. Anyway, so that was the first prank.
I did think that the sketches, pranks, or whatever, they never really seemed to conclude very well. Any of them.
No,
it was really like a big ending. That was only usually that they kind of almost started to run. Either started to run out of steam or about to run out of steam, and then Beadle would come in and go, you've been set up."
The punchline is always Beadle turns up.
Aye,
and that's kind of the end of the bit.
Sketch number 2 then, setup number 2 is a young guy in a bed shop. I couldn't figure out how he ended up in this bed shop, but he's in a bed shop and he gets told that he's in charge of the bed shop while the manager goes out and does some things for a client. Before the manager goes out, he goes, "These 3 beds here are sold. There's sold signs on the beds. So they're the last to arrange, so they're already sold, so you can't somebody will be coming in to pick them up." That's the setup. So the young boy's left on his own. And then, about 5 minutes after being left in charge of the shop, I fucking laughed. I laughed. Decades apart, I laughed at this.
I'm going to be pissed off at this show, and then I'm fucking thinking about it and laughing.
5 minutes into his shift of being left in charge of this bed shop, this family look as if they're never going to walk past the shop, but then come into the shop, and they're all like,
right, just say it, they come waddling in.
This
big fat family.
Huge
Beadle goes, oh, and then the Go Lightly family turn up. They're called fucking the Go Lightlies. They're no fucking Go Lightly. They're Go Fat as Fucklies, man.
You see the young guy's face when he sees them walking past the window, and he's like, "Oh shit!" Like he literally goes, "Oh shit." And they come into the shop, and obviously the first thing they want to do when they come into the shop is fucking sit on these beds that he's supposed to be taking care of that are getting picked up later. So they sit on the beds, and the fucking beds it's like some kind of pantomime setup where they go down like dominoes. This family, like one sits on the bed and hits the other one.
Loved it. You loved it,
mate. It was good.
You loved it. Were you laughing?
Aye.
Three big fat as fuck
fatties,
fat bastards. 3 big fucking disgustingly morbidly obese fat fucks come in.
Man.
Don't
one
break
of them
the beds.
The dad was Scottish as well, so that
he opens his mouth.
Stank.
Scottish right away. That's how, by the way, in the 80s, the only way a Scottish person could get on the telly in the 1980s was to be an alky or a fat bastard that was falling through a fucking bed on Beadles about. That was your jobs in the 1980s. Or Billy Connolly.
Good thing about getting a Scottish person for these sketches is that you can't understand what they're saying half the time. Anyway, these Scottish people, so...
But by the way...
You can't tell if he's a good actor or not.
I'm saying Billy Connolly got on telly, but I'm sure this was run about the period of Billy Connolly's Scotland's shite, by the way.
He was away.
Glasgow's rotten, so it is. No, he's kind of reversed that. No, he's more. Scotland's brilliant. Again, but there definitely was a period where he was, Scotland's full of fat guys falling off beds. And he was fucking right. That was why we were angry at him, because he was fucking right.
Oh, God.
Guft have got me fucking weighing in every day. They're like, we're going to have to fucking sort this guy out. We're going to have to bring in the last of the line bed. They stole this fucking guy feeding. Ryan.
These fatties destroy the beds, and then the owner comes back and goes, "What have you done? You've smashed all the beds up." And then Beadle comes in, and Beadle's the guy. He's got quite a big beard in this sketch. Somebody must have said to him, "I think the young guy will recognise you," so he's made a bit more effort to put. And he's keeping his face away from the young guy as well, because as soon as the young guy sees that Beadle's face, he's suspicious. And he's leaning
in and saying, I think that's that fucking Jeremy Beadle there, man.
That was my favourite skit.
Was your favourite just because you saw big fatties falling through beds?
Aye. It was probably when they first showed up, that was the funniest bit.
But this is my point, like, why could they just not just do a show where fat people fall through beds?
I wish they would.
Well, there's still time. We could pitch that this afternoon. Do you know what the bad thing is? I looked at these big fucking fat bastards, right? These... And no offence, by the way, because I know a vast majority of our viewers are fat fucks as well, right? But I was watching these horrible fat bastards. I know the majority of our fan base over the years are morbidly obese. A lot of them are in the ground, probably, by this point. But I was thinking to myself, oh man, I don't want to turn into a fucking go lightly guy falling through beds. And then it went to the adverts in the thing we were watching. There was an advert for Twirls, and I was like, oh, I love Twirls. There's a Twirl in the kitchen. And I went and had a Twirl. So it didn't work as a bit of a fataganda.
What do you mean, the chocolate bar?
Yeah.
Right, I'm with you.
Yeah. Oh!
Find a way to make it clear and get through to you. I got to tell you how good it really is.
Very funny.
That advert was daft.
See, you could be fucking Jeremy Beadle.
I thought that advert was a bit daft, to be honest. I hate to point that out about advertising, but advertising's a bit daft, isn't it? That advert was just have a twirl, get a shag. It was literally that. I mean, that's a lot of adverts, but
aye,
that was it.
Sexy. Chocolate is sexy. You've got to remember.
A twirl is sexy.
No.
All the crumbs. And anyway.
Here's what happened. So I'm watching this. So I came back, right, for the kitchen, and I sat down and I'd recharged my cup of tea. And I went, right, let's watch the last skit here, right? And before that, there was one about a jingle thing, me and a guy was going in. It was a fucking bizarre one. I didn't really know what was going on.
Any of the ones... I'm much more in your camp, I think, when the sketches or the setups are in offices. I don't know why. I'm just like, I don't fucking want to see people sitting in there. It's a downer. It's just a downer.
Aye.
And it's no funny. It's like office humour all of a sudden.
But I sat down and I minimised the YouTube video. And I went to make it go big again, and I saw a comment on the YouTube video. And the comment said, makes me emotional how life was so much better back then. Somebody commented on this. And then I kind of zoned out after reading that.
Was it Jeremy Beadle for Beyond the Grave?
No, it was just a random. And then the skit was playing out, and I thought, I can't watch this because it had knocked me into a bit of a downer. Because I was thinking to myself, what did this person mean by that? Makes me emotional how life was so much better back then. Why did watching this episode of Beadle's About make this person make that comment? It makes me emotional how life was so much better back then. I think this is an interesting thing to interrogate when you consider the kind of show that we're doing for Guffed here. Why did that person make that comment? Beadle's About. Because
when you're talking about the studios and stuff that he's sitting in and going, oh, that's a bit depressing, I'm saying, no, I remember that. That can let me go to a memory that I have of like coziness and safety and entertainment as well.
But am I saying it's depressing because but that was the thing, it was what got me thinking as well. Am I depressed watching this because it's kind of reminding me of that
you don't have any
a kind of innocent time, or because there is an innocence in Beadle's About that, like, people wouldn't be mortified by the fact they were swearing anymore.
No.
Things like that.
No.
I think people are even, there's a sense of people being embarrassed to be on TV, and Beadle's About even just being on TV is embarrassing.
That's what I mean. That's that's what I find really interesting about it, is they're so not, the people that are on the show are so not used to being observed. They're so not used to having the spotlight, but we don't have that anymore because there's cameras everywhere.
There's also, like, even Jeremy Beadle himself. I was just thinking, this guy would never be on TV nowadays, I don't think.
Hopefully no.
He's guys like him and guys like Matthew Kelly and guys like, just guys for that time who they weren't like the most attractive guys. I'm not saying people on telly have to be attractive, but I think there's a level of kind of maybe polish about presenters or something. Just a guy who, what does he do? He does pranks. Such an odd thing. Definitely a more innocent time. And I just found that I just hit a real downer when I saw that comment. Makes me emotional how life was so much better back then. Like, why would you say that about Beadle's about?
I think it's about their life that they're talking about, no specifically Beadle's about. 19 minutes in, there's a lassie with polystyrene cups. I've nearly gave up by this point. There's a lassie with polystyrene cups in the office. And like the footage of her in the studio is she's absolutely dying with like embarrassment and laughing.
Why is she embarrassed?
I don't know, she's fucking about with some polystyrene cups in an office.
The most ironic thing, of course, about Beadle's about is the fact that he's not about anymore. Beadle has moved to another plane of existence. Now, I think, Ryan, it wouldn't be out of bounds for us to try and contact Jeremy Beadle later this year.
Stick him on the list.
Because I think...
Actually, I was talking about that Amazon Ouija board that I saw for £1.19.
Yeah.
But it's tiny, and I thought that's really impractical. But actually, with Jeremy Beadle's weird.
The problem with Jeremy Beadle is he's such a prankster that you would worry that maybe you would try and contact Jeremy Beadle and he'd get a demon to get in contact with us or something. Instead, probably a really fat demon. Right, games. Games. I
really enjoyed the adverts.
Yeah,
I think
adverts.
more than the show.
I love the adverts.
The Nikon digital stereo advert in particular stood out to me. I was like, wow, cool, Nikon digital stereos here.
I felt
on ITV and Channel 4, you can experience Nikon digital stereo.
I felt almost like it's something that we've missed, that maybe as we approach the end of the 1980s, maybe we should have a look. It would be nice to look at some adverts for the 1980s, which we've not really done. That's a fun thing to do. Also,
the video that we watched, you didn't make it to the end, so you didn't see it. Not only did I watch the end of Beadle's about
Jeremy's about, did they go into other stuff?
I watched there's adverts that lead up to the continuity guy who is introducing Diamonds Are Forever, the film that's coming on next. So I watched all of that, and the continuity guy said before Diamonds Are Forever came on, said the entertainment is kept really high now. That's what he said. The entertainment is kept really high.
Continuity.
Don't.
So the next game I would like to talk about is 1989 was the start of a series that is second to none. This is Ys Book 1 and 2, PC Engine.
Ys, the ideal utopia. Once a country so peaceful and prosperous. A country where children were as free as the wind. A country where harmony blew through the hearts of all men. Ys, a kingdom ruled by the wisdom and charity of its 6 powerful priests. An empire watched over and blessed by the enchanting aura of its 2 beautiful goddesses.
Speaking of 2 beautiful goddesses, myself and Ryan McLeod have always been partial to the Japanese RPG. Ryan's fell off a wee bit. He's not so much into them these days. I'm going to try and get him back on track by exploring the wonderful world of Falcom. This is a Falcom game from 1989. Ys Book 1 and 2. Listen to this fucking music, by the way. Now listen, I've owned this game for a long time on CD, the TurboGrafx version of Ys Book 1 and 2, which is fully translated into English. but it's only recently that I played through it for the first time, and the reason why I played through it for the first time is because I played Ys 8 and thought it was one of the greatest games I've ever played in my life, and I thought I'm going to play all of these Ys games. And so here we are, in 1989, with our main character, Adol, who is the main character of all of the mainline Ys games. And just for the avoidance of doubt, it is Ys. It is not Ys, as in Y-fronts. It's not Yes, or anything like that. Just like CVXX has a V, this is Ys. And even though this is a very old game, and as you'll see here, it has an interesting combat system. It's got bump combat, which means your wee character just bumps up against the baddies to attack them. Like this. Bump. And I know what yous are thinking. Yous are going, I don't see anything strange about that, Rab. That's how I fight in real life. Just kinda bump up against wee boys and wee lassies until I stop greeting. But you need to believe me, this is considered quite an unconventional combat system. But it does work. It does work, and you realise as you play it that there's some tactics involved in how you approach certain baddies. If anything, it simplifies that process of levelling up to be stronger than certain enemies, because you started the game, you're bumping against baddies to try and beat them, and then as you get stronger, you're just breezing through them, you're just walking through them. And then there's the boss fights as well. You come to boss fights where other tactics come into play, and it's a wee bit more complicated than just doing a bit of bumping. But it does just work, and it allows you to just focus on the atmosphere of the game, the puzzle solving, the exploration of the dungeons. Beautifully designed dungeons in this game. And it's a game that's weirdly quite scary as well, because what the bump combat does is it means you can be jumped. You can be in a dark dungeon and suddenly an enemy comes at the side of you and bumps against you, takes a big load of health off you, so you're always on edge. And some of the boss fights will really kick your ass. This is a kind of early-ish one, but, you know, rock solid before you work out what you're actually supposed to do. So a lot of challenge, a really advanced, sophisticated game for its time, I think. And it's weird, isn't it? Because I can remember back in maybe 2002 or something, I would have looked at this game and thought, this is maybe too old to play. But now, the past is back, baby. Just look at CVXX, and you load up something like this and you're in fucking heaven. Man, I love Falcom, and I love 1989.
What, PC Engine games?
There we go. Yes, I mean, I want to bring the PC Engine more to... I've always been a big PC Engine fan. I just want to bring it more into people's awareness, the old PC Engine. There's going to be, you know, there's going to be a fair bit of Super Nintendo coming up as we move into the 90s, I think. Ryan, what have you got?
I did maybe mention last episode that 1989 is the year that the Shadowrun role-playing game came out.
I don't know if we did mention that.
Should we set aside 4 hours and play some Shadowrun? Have you got Shadowrun? You must have.
I don't. I used to have it. I used to have it. No, I don't have it.
I think that was the first. Not that we played that many role-playing games together, but I think that might have been the first one that we played.
Maybe.
I remember going out to Rab's house to play Shadowrun and be there. Well, after school, you'd be there maybe about 6:30, 7 o'clock, and we'd be in there for hours. And I swear to God, sometimes literally nothing would happen when we were playing the role-playing game, because the people we would play would like James would go and like buy some milk. This is like playing Shadowrun as a vampire, like a kind of street new steampunk
like
kind of futuristic kind of vampire character, and James would go and buy milk at the shops and then come back, like refuse to do anything. This was the role-playing game.
Yeah, and I'd have to be like, oh no, you can do that.
Try and encourage us to do things, but
yeah. Hooks. Try to give them story hooks and all that, and they'd fucking just kick my hooks into the creek.
Have we done Pang yet?
Oh no, we've not, but you should talk about Pang, because I fucking love Pang.
Let's do Pang.
I'm a big Pang fan.
Ocean. The mark of a kind of quality, at least visual quality. I should have said before this played that please be careful if you're epileptic or you're prone to seizures. Absolutely incredible. Okay. Amazing as even possible. 1989. Incredible. Sound like Alan Hansen for some reason talking about these graphics. Letter P's seriously letting the side down there. He's bouncing up and down a lot slower than the other letters. Easily one of my favourite title screens in any game ever in the history of video games is just the exploding wee boss that goes Pang, or I suppose it said Pumping World in Japan. I can't be bothered looking that up for you, you'll have to date yourself. This wee boy explains the rules to you. It's quite a simple wee game. There's big balls, and I'm really glad Robert's not here when I'm explaining this. There's big balls, and when you fire your hook into the big ball, it turns it into lots of wee balls. All innocent fun. The aim of the game is that you want to get rid of all the balls. This is me playing here. I'm going to show you what an expert I am at Pang. Now, I'm not wanting to get drawn into this, right? I'm not wanting to get drawn into any kind of controversy with these Amiga types. That's never happened before. I'm not wanting involved with the controversy, right, but people will say, you might notice, like there's no way you've got to this point in your life without having a conversation about the computer game Pang, and Amiga owners will always say, yeah, this has happened to you, isn't it? I can tell already for the expression on your face, this has happened to you before. You're talking to an Amiga owner, and he's telling you that Pang on the Amiga is a arcade, they'll use this term, arcade perfect conversion. Now, I've gone through most of my life just letting that slide, just going, look, they're just being really enthusiastic, and it is, in all honesty, it is near arcade perfect. But look, I don't want to get drawn into the debate, but it is not arcade perfect. The arcade version of Pang is the better version. It looks better, it plays a wee bit better, it's better. It's got better colours, the backgrounds are nicer, it plays a wee bit better, it's better. Which means that the Amiga version, I don't want to get drawn into this, but the Amiga version isn't arcade perfect. You can't use the words. Okay, moving on. Now, I don't want to find out after this episode that I'm getting drawn into something when I've clearly said that I don't want to get drawn into any controversy. Okay, moving on. What is there to say about Pang? It's magic. It's incredible what a fast loader it is. It really helps because it is an arcade game. It's like the idea of the game is just perfect for arcade play, and it really helps even on the Amiga that it's such a fast loader. From level to level, you're firing through it at a rapid rate. The music is brilliant. The colours are still beautiful, not as good as the arcade version, but still great. You're going around the world in all these different stages, so you've got a different background every stage you go to. Sometimes the level's a wee bit of help, sometimes the level's a bit of a hindrance. You get the creatures like that. I don't even know what that is. It looks like kind of Marge Simpson's head. Marge Simpson's head doesn't help you, she's out to get you. Crab is your pal though. Crab helps you. Crab bursts balloons. Sometimes though, if you're close to Crab and he bursts a balloon, you're not expecting him to burst a balloon, that can also be a wee bit of a hindrance. But he's just trying his best, like I is. I think his wife left him. Just with so much, ignore that, just with so much going on screen and the fantastic music, I kinda expect a wee bit of slowdown here and there. Never happens. Never happens in Pang. I've always liked the laser gun weapon that's useless in this. Ignore that. I don't understand. This is, honestly, it's never happened to me before. It never died until I was recording the footage to do this review. The laser gun's great if you've got the space to exploit, but this is too tricky. This level you need the grappling hook. I'm really actually quite good at this. I don't think you are getting me the props that I'm due. Ignore that. Just ignore that as well. I do remember that as part of my Pang experience, even back in the day. Even when I was much better at the game than I am now, I do remember that as being part of it, because it is a fast loader, the game, which is great. It's brilliant to have a fast loader and have such a fun arcadey game. It reminds me of like an IK Plus or something that's just so compact and fun, so much fun, accessible, fast fun. But it being a fast loader means that I do remember dying repeatedly being part of the experience on the same level, like deed, reload, there he goes, deed, reload. It's just how I play it. It's just my style. It's unreal, the game, and it's such a nostalgia kick as well for me, because it takes me back to me and my cousin playing 2-player. Obviously you play this 2-player as well. I forgot to mention you can play this 2-player. Obviously I'm only playing this, which is, I'd probably be doing a lot better if I was doing it 2-player. The cool thing about doing it 2-player is that when you get the stages, you get the pictures, that's really off-putting, that actually, isn't it? It's really, really off-putting how bad they are at this game. You get the pictures in between the stages when you're two-player, or you get both the characters in the picture in between the stage. I've run out of time.
Oh, I love Pang. I just recently actually picked up Pang for the PC Engine. Just bought it off eBay, and it's called it's for PC Engine CD. It's called Pomping World.
Pomping World.
Pomping World.
Okay.
Going around the world pomping. Right, Ryan. Talking about strange things, strange TV, strange stuff. Jeremy Beadle, cops. This is a movie that's a true story.
Well.
Starring Christopher Walken, Lindsay Krause,
and that wee guy.
It's called Communion. Now, I have an interesting angle on this before we say anything, because I am the only guy sitting here among the two of us that's actually made my communion.
That's true.
I was brought up Roman Catholic, a connection straight back to the Holy Roman Empire. Connection straight back to Augustus himself, I would like to think. And I made my first Holy Communion. And I haven't taken communion for a long time, to be fair.
How often are you meant to be taking it?
Well, you're supposed to go every week and get your communion, or like confess your sins. No, I'm not.
Every week?
I am not.
Every week?
Well, yeah, every time you go to chapel.
Business.
I am not a practicing Catholic, so it's by the by. But I did make my communion, and I have taken into my mouth the body of Jesus Christ. So, Ryan, Communion is a movie based on the book Communion by Whitley Strieber.
Whitley. Such a weird name.
Whitley is a weird name, isn't it? Like, no Whitney, like Whitney Houston. Whitley Strieber. Whitley Strieber was a novelist. He was like a novelist who wrote horror stuff and all of that, who then realised that
he wasn't selling enough books.
Ryan! Who then realised... Don't start like that. It's a fucking true story. Who's selling horror books, and then he realised that the reason why he was writing all these horror books and why his mind constantly went to this imagery of freakish things was because from childhood he had been visited by non-human intelligences, and Communion was about his experience coming to terms with the fact that he had made contact with some kind of alien force. Ryan.
We've seen this film multiple times. This is one of the when we were going through our educating ourselves about films, we had a big Christopher Walken kick. I think the two is we really appreciated when Walken was good in good films, but maybe appreciated even more when Walken was at it in films, when Walken had taken a paycheck and he was
having fun.
He was just having fun with turning up on set and being extravagant.
This was directed by Philippe Mora, by the way, who was a very, very experienced director.
Someone's here.
This is going to be an interesting conversation.
I remember this film being, as I say, we've seen it multiple times. I haven't actually, on recent viewing, shifted my opinion of the film, but I did remember it being creepier throughout. I thought it was creepier throughout the film, but actually, probably the creepiest stuff happens within the first 10, 15 minutes of the film.
I think it's pretty creepy throughout the film. I think it's extremely strange. There's a strangeness about this film that's quite hard to define. The story is essentially Christopher Walken's character, Whitley Strieber, is married. He's a married novelist. He has a young kid, And there's really no much to this story. He goes away with some friends to a cabin. There's an experience, lights outside. Something comes in. There's a visitation. He comes to an awareness that he's been abducted by these life forms. He is not communicating with his wife. He's getting frightened and afraid, having night terror type stuff. It's a very odd film because it doesn't really have a plot.
Mm-hmm.
It's more just about this guy coming to a realization, and through psychotherapy and stuff like that, and he begins to come to a realization about what is not even actually what is happening.
A huge part of why the film is so unusual is because it doesn't waver for the point that this happened. This is real. This is based on a true story.
No, it doesn't waver for that. It doesn't say, however, to be fair, it doesn't say this movie is based on a true story at the start. It doesn't say that.
I thought it did.
I don't think it does, no. It doesn't say that. Because this book was a massive seller. It was a massive hit, Communion, right? And it also had a cover that featured the alien from Communion, which is kind of popularised the image of the grey alien.
I think it was already popular by that point, I think.
I think there was variants, but this was the one that went like, this is what the alien looks like. And I think that image on the cover of Communion definitely kind of helped move that image through the culture as like, this is what the aliens look like. Because obviously, like, we see that alien life form depicted so many times now in things, and in the conversation about non-human intelligence nowadays, there's often conversation about the greys as featured in Whitley Strieber's book. So this isn't just us talking about a film here. We're talking genuinely, actually, talking about a film that is a keystone. I think it's a key element of current UFO belief. This film, which makes it more weird, Ryan, the fact that you can't find it on any streaming services or anything, and it's actually just on YouTube for free. It's like almost like a discarded piece of work. Did that not strike you as odd that you could just go, I was going, where will I find this? Might need to buy this. Oh, there it's there just on YouTube and nobody gives a fuck.
Sometimes that happens. You think that they're trying to leak out the truth? Is that what you think?
I don't know.
1 minute and 40 seconds we are in this film before Christopher Walken looks at the camera. Looks right down the camera.
Christopher Walken does a lot of looking right into the camera in this film. He does a lot of leaning forward and looking as if we are the thing that has come in. Like, I genuinely, before we go any further, you've not really said, I know you liked it back in the day, Communion, and we had a lot of fun with it. I think I appreciated it more as a film now than I did back then. Back then I had a lot of fun with it and was kind of laughing at it and all that, but I appreciated it more as a film now because of its...
The film to me, what I've taken for the film, I was talking about the creepiness of the film, but basically the film to me is Walken's performance. That is everything else is...
100%.
Everything else is discardable, I think, but Walken's performance is the film.
Walken, Christopher Walken, see, this is the difficult thing with this role, and I know you were saying it's fun when Christopher Walken is just having a laugh. I really don't think he is with this film. I always thought that. I always thought Communion's one where he's like, I'm going to have a bit of fun here because this is... but he puts a lot into this. And this story is completely based on one guy's account of what's happening, not just what's happening in the world around him, but what's happening in his own mind. So it can only really be Christopher Walken's performance that holds it all together, because it's basically all happening within the theatre of his mind, which is like probably an exciting thing for an actor. But he really goes for it, doesn't he, in this?
Mm-hmm. He's really out there. I feel, when I say that I hadn't changed my opinion for the last time I watched it, my old opinion of Communion was that Walken's performance is, again, really unique and entertaining, but his co-star, Lindsay Krause, is struggling to be in the same room and struggling to be in the same scenes as him. And you almost get an opportunity when they go to the psychiatrist's office, if that's what she is, hypnotist or psychiatrist's office. You get an opportunity to put Krause's performance is right next to Walken's performance, because they both take shots each at being hypnotised and going through this kind of dream phase. And Walken is
phenomenal,
mesmerising when he's doing it, absolutely mesmerising, and wakes himself up for being hypnotised. And then Lindsay Krause goes, and she just doesn't have it in her to reach that level of performance.
Is that someone there? You know, I see you. I'm seeing someone there. I don't think I like this.
It's going fine.
Get out!
It's going fine.
Away! Get away! Out! Get out! Get away!
It's one of the films, I think, if you were an actor and you were shown this script, you would go, I don't really know how to do this. Walken knows how to do it. Walken completely knows how to do it, and he's completely... I was thinking this to myself, I was going, if this guy was real that Walken is playing here, I know Whitley Strieber is a real guy, but I'm talking about if it was Christopher Walken who came up to you and said, I had this experience, I think you would 100% believe him. He's so convincing in his fragility in this. I mean, it's a really fun film as well. Like, I watched it with my daughter, right? And all she knew was the name when we went into it. She didn't even know what it was about. So she didn't even know it was about aliens.
Same with my partner.
So the minute this stuff started happening, she was like, what? You know what I mean? Like, she was completely... And she had a load of fun with it. And she's been talking about it. And she even said, now, there's a moment in this film, right, where an alien encounter happens at the home. And then Christopher Walken's character gets up the next morning and he walks into the kitchen and he says,
Was there an owl in here last night?
And we obsessed with that line.
Mm-hmm.
Was there an owl in here last night? Well, like, that's such
I said it in video guiding. Was there an owl in here last night?
Yeah, I mean, without
a reference that nobody would ever get.
We used to say it all the time, though, didn't we? Was there an owl in here last night? After I watched the film with Hope, the next morning, Hope got up out of bed and walked into the kitchen when I was in here, and she said, was there an owl in here last night? And there's something about this film, it has moments in it that I think are genuinely, it's kind of, nobody talks about this film, right? But there's moments in this film that are kind of genuinely quite arresting. There was moments in this film, I realised that I could almost speak the film word for word as well. I remembered it so clearly.
Me too.
And
it wasn't just that line, was there an owl in here last night? It was his delivery again. It's unique.
Also the fact, though, there's a Jackie Chan moment in this film. Because Christopher Walken goes to bed and his hair's long. And when he gets up that morning and asks if there was an owl in here last night, his hair's completely short. So that must have been a reshoot or something. It must have been something that happened out of the timeline of a normal film. And he's kind of drying his hair with a towel to try and disguise the fact that he's got a different haircut. But it kind of works in the film, the fact that his hair's short now. It works in the film because the film is so fucking astonishingly odd all the way through that it kind of works. You kind of go with it. It's a lot of fun as well, this film. There's a lot of charming, kind of funny moments when Walken's in bed with his wife.
I don't know, man.
What?
Them as a family unit, those three, the kid, him and her, I couldn't for a second buy it. I couldn't buy him and her as a wife. The way she, I know that this is the way...
The kid works.
The kid with him works,
yeah.
But she's...
Her
honestly,
performance...
She's a lump of wood.
I mean, I think you're being harsh, but her performance is just not... right. I think the casting isn't right.
They're having a fight quite early on in the film. No, it's when he...
I don't hate that bit where they have the argument. And she's in costume.
I think it is there. They have a couple of arguments. I'm sure that is the argument, but she calls him self-indulgent. There's some scenes in this film that felt ad-libbed.
Yeah.
That felt a wee bit loose. But she calls him self-indulgent, and I couldn't let go of this because I was just thinking... fair enough, it fits this scenario that we're going through, that this author is saying that he's witnessed aliens and I think maybe he was saying that he'll write about that, or maybe that was later in the film, but she was saying that that's self-indulgent, and fair enough, that fits. But I couldn't let go of the fact that I was thinking, if this is ad-libbed, that might be Lindsay Krause saying to Christopher Walken, you're self-indulgent. I couldn't let go of that.
there's a factor here. Lindsay Krause is a hugely respected actress, right? And you've got to remember that Whitley Strieber and his wife were both alive when this film was made.
Right.
So she was playing a real person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whitley Strieber's wife she was an author as well. There's a great possibility that Lindsay Krause was playing this woman that she'd met. You know what I mean? But I agree with you that there's a kind of odd thing in there. I doubt that Whitley Strieber is anything like fucking Christopher Walken, because there's nobody on the planet that's anything like Christopher Walken. But
in being so strange and having these one of my first notes is he's talking about how he lost a day, no doing anything, but he kind of does it in this kind of whimsical wee voice, and he just kind of goes off on one and turns into walking again.
What did you lose?
I lost, I lost another day. What I lost was gold. Golden notions erased, smoke dreams, phantoms. What I crave is, consolation.
But in doing that, it makes him so accessible. It makes you so on board with his character when he's doing these things. They're so whatever. They're so likable. They're so you relate to him. But Lindsay Krause is as I say, she's just quite a cold performance.
It's an odd one because I genuinely think that everything else in this film is so well put together that it must be deliberate that her performance is so kind of cold, and is she maybe meant to represent how people in general react to people's stories of alien abductions, or they're going for something. I'm convinced they're going for something.
You don't want me to just go for her and say that she's not very good in it, but it doesn't explain away that hypnotism scene that I'd seen where she's hypnotised, where she is not putting in a good performance. It's no good.
I know.
Oh God, he's screaming. Oh, it's painful to hear. Oh, it's like something's happening to him. Whitley's going. I want to go. I've got to go. You're not supposed to go. I've got to go!
There was wee moments I kind of noted doing this film, because it's that thing, it's when there's good craftsmen at work in a film. There's wee moments like Christopher Walken, like the kid, wee ad-lib things like the kid flinging a hat at him. They're out for a walk and he has a terrible headache because he's been fucking probed by these bastards, and he's got a terrible headache when he's out for a walk, and he stops, and while he's kind of down there in pain, the wee boy kind of flings a hat at him and stuff like that, and it's like wee kind of moments that feel really real. The argument scene, Ryan, I want to come back to, because I thought it was really interestingly staged. Walken's not even looking at her, she's behind him. He doesn't look at her and he says, "Don't look at me like that." He says without looking at her.
Indulgent you off in some weird
What do you mean?
Scared of shadows.
Don't look at me like that.
Cut it out, Whitley!
There's clever bits in it that make you think.
That's him, though. That's got to be him, though.
Yeah, that's totally him. It's totally, it's totally him. But it's just such an interesting choice to say, "Don't look at me like that," and leave that line hanging in there, and you kind of go, well, he's saying that because he just knows she's going to be looking at him like that, and you move constantly in this film. I felt like I moved into the new scene and I was still thinking about the previous scene. I was still processing the previous scene when I was in the new scene, and this is what I mean. It's like, this was always like a fun film to me, and I've always considered it a horror film as well. I've always considered
it gains horror film status purely with that shot that's about 10 minutes into the film where Walken's face justifies the film as a horror film when he sees,
when there's a sit up.
He's sitting up in bed and he's looking at it and he says, "Is there someone there?" And that face slides, and there's just a ever so slight drop in Walken's expression when he realises what's happening, when that alien face leans out from behind the wardrobe.
Is that someone there?
Like I said, when you watch it with somebody who's not seen the film, when that face comes out from beside the wardrobe, it's a fucking great moment. It's a great moment, I think, that when that comes out.
The spaceship stuff really lets it down.
Do you think so?
It's the way it's filmed. I think they could have done something simple stylistically. I think that would have sold it better, but it just looks... I mean, you can make an argument for it, but it looks kind of naff. It looks fake and naff.
I was thinking about this, right?
But then Walken's gone, like, when the aliens are showing him, he's going, that's not it.
Yeah, yes.
There's that layer of...
The more we talk about it just now, I love this. Like, I love the... At no point does he say he was in a spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is no... And Whitley Strieber, to this day, Whitley Strieber's still alive, still totally says it happened to him, you know, is still completely on board with all that. He doesn't say he was in a spaceship. Whitley Strieber says, I don't know, I've never said I was a spaceship or it was aliens. I'm just saying, this is what happened. I was in this place and, you know. And so I think they were in that weird area where they're like, they couldn't deal with a cinematic depiction of a spaceship because Whitley Strieber didn't say he was in a spaceship, you know. There's so much in this film that seems to be happening within the mind, even though there's another couple in this movie, by the way, who are friends. And I think they're really good. They're barely in it, but they're really good. But this guy, the man and the other couple, he sees the lights and he's terrified. And the next day, that's a great scene, I think, where he's like, I want to fucking go home. I want out of this.
They set him up as well, mind. Walken and Krause are joking about what he's talking about. What the other guy must be talking about, the wolves and stuff like that, and they're playing him up as like a kind of a wild, rugged kind of tough guy. But then the next morning he's too scared and he wants to get him.
He's fucking terrified, and he's like, and that's another great performance in a film that I think, you know, with the exception of Lindsay Krause's performance, which is a wee bit baffling, the performances I think out with that are great. I think one of the reasons why this film as well gets to me a wee bit more is because they think he's got epilepsy at one point and he gets the epilepsy test with the flashing lights and all of that, and that's I get really anxious in that scene because I got all the tests when I was a teenager because I had seizures through my teenage years and kind of night terrors and hallucinations and all of that kind of stuff. I think I kind of relate to Communion. I relate to this film a lot because there's a version of what I went through as a teenager that could have been seen through that filter. Do you know what I mean? Like if I hadn't had the physical seizures and all that and only had the hallucinations, I could easily have later in life went, I wonder if some kind of supernatural or, you know, some kind of experience like that happened to me. So when it gets to that point in the movie where he's getting these tests and stuff like that, I find that kind of really pulls it into a very real place for me. But then towards the end of the film, Ryan, it gets really surreal and existential, doesn't it, towards the end of the film? And that's what I love about it as well, because can I just have a shout out for the soundtrack as well? The score is fucking odd. That's odd as well, but beautiful.
Eric Clapton.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful stuff. And
there's that score of the Eric Clapton stuff, but there is also, I think there's the scene where early on he's at a Halloween party and he freaks out because he sees a kid in a Halloween costume, but he thinks that the costume is real. Like he sees something different.
Yeah.
This is after the first experience that he has, the first visitation that he has in the film.
Yeah.
But the music during that bit was rotten. Was for some reason really clunky and naff and cheap sounding.
It's so anyway, it then veers off. And the third act, kind of, it goes into this very surreal, existential place where he's seeing himself. You're really in the theatre of the mind at that point. And it doesn't do what a normal alien UFO film would do, which is like explain anything about the aliens. If anything, it starts to unexplain everything. It starts to unexplain everything and make everything really abstract towards the end. To the point where David Lynch, who of course sadly died recently, I thought to myself, if David Lynch had directed this film, it would be held in extremely high regard, I think. I think because it was a kind of straight-to-video film back in the day, it did not get the kind of credit that I think it deserves for being a completely unique feeling film, a completely uniquely structured film with one of Christopher Walken's best performances, I think. It's all, if you like Christopher Walken, fuck me, you're going to get so much pleasure out of this. He's so handsome and charismatic in it as well, isn't he?
In it a lot as well.
And he's in every, you know, it's his whole thing, it's his scene. And we're running out of time here. I just want to say, though, that there's a scene towards the end in an art gallery where it's one of the most odd scenes I've ever seen in a film.
It's an odd end to the film.
Well, the two characters were Walken and Lindsay Krause are kind of stoning, talking to each other, but kind of talking to us about what they've learned or what they think or what they believe. And then you've got this kind of beautiful ending where Walken has this moment with not an alien, but it almost feels like he's having a moment with the concept of an alien. I just think, you know, the minute it ended, I thought, I'll watch this again fucking this year. I think the reason why the reason why I thought I watched it 100 times when I was younger was because Christopher Walken's performance is so much fun in this. I think the reason why we watched it so much when we were younger is because there's just a feel about this film that really draws you. That's really quite, like, I don't imagine
something intriguing about it.
Yeah, I don't imagine anybody could watch this film and think, nah, I'm not into this, I'll turn it off. This is a film nobody would turn off, you know what I mean? You might think it's a lot of shite, but I think nobody would turn it off. And we don't even have time to talk about whether Ryan believes in aliens or not. Ryan,
next episode?
I don't think we can leave 1989 yet.
We're on part 2. No, we can't. There's too much stuff. Why leave the 80s when you can stay in the 80s?
Let's have one last episode. Next episode in 1989. We'll wrap up the 1980s. There's just too much to talk about. But watch Communion, please do that. That was CVXX. Listen, like and subscribe. Please try and spread the word. We don't know how to spread the word.
Harry Corbett died in 1989. Name our suit.
That's the way to do it.
That's something else. Right, I'm going to go.
Like and subscribe, share, try and get the word out. Guff need us to get more viewers. We've not got enough viewers and we really need more viewers. Is there someone there?